Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is still holding above this critical level on the price chart as the Bitcoin price is still playing out this oversold signal, but we've just seen a short-term dump just on the smaller time frames as a result of some major Bitcoin and crypto news today, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside Ethereum now possibly forming a new bullish divergence after previously playing out this bearish divergence here in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to take a look at some Bitcoin news today, and more importantly, crypto news today, because the US government has apparently launched an investigation into USDT, which is of course Tether, the #1 stablecoin in the crypto market. But the source of this information is a Wall Street Journal article, and obviously the Wall Street Journal is not 100% accurate all the time. And in fact, if we're looking at what the CEO of Tether has just said, basically he denies the Wall Street Journal's report that the firm is under investigation by the US government. And so essentially what happened here was, as soon as this first information right here got announced, we saw a very quick drop just in the short term, around $1,000 for example, straight to the downside. But then as soon as this second update here with the CEO of Tether saying that basically he's denying the Wall Street Journal article, essentially we saw a little bounce here in the short term. So basically we stopped the dump, at least for now. So we're still waiting for more information about all of this, because right now we don't really have a lot of sources, just the Wall Street Journal article that has so far been denied. But in case you're new to crypto, I can tell you from personal experience, there's been a lot of Tether FUD over the years, and so far all of that Tether FUD has basically turned out to be incorrect. So essentially, a lot of people saying that Tether's going to collapse at any moment. People have been saying that for year after year after year for many years now, and obviously Tether is still standing as the #1 crypto stablecoin. And so we're still actually yet to see anything of substance when it comes to the FUD or the bad press about Tether. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, we can't always think that Tether's going to collapse every time we get a bit of bad news, because that's what a lot of people have been thinking over the years, and they have turned out to be wrong. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the 4-day time frame, as of right now, this has not really changed over the last 1 day. So getting straight into the 2-day Bitcoin chart, and right now we're still holding above this critical line on the Bitcoin price chart, which is currently sitting at just above $65,000. So for as long as we're holding above 65K, we're still looking pretty good, at least in terms of the longer term trend or this larger bullish price structure. Obviously, if we break back below around 65,000 with confirmation, so candle closes back below 65K, then in that case, that will be a bit of a bearish signal here on the larger time frames. And of course, during this larger bullish price structure, we can see short-term dumps along the way up, just like how during this previous larger bearish trend, we can see short-term pumps along the way down. And so that is the situation on the larger time frames right now. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, as of right now, we're still hanging around this area on the price chart, in between around 66.7K to 68.3K. But ultimately, we're kind of forming a bit of a sideways price range in between around 65,500 to 69,500. So in between those levels on the price chart, we're currently basically chopping around sideways within a sideways price range, looking relatively neutral, at least in the short term here. Because ultimately, at least as of right now, we're resetting the RSI out of overbought territories on the daily time frame, which means usually when we see that overbought signal confirm, that means we're about to see either some choppy sideways price action, so relatively neutral price action, or a slight pullback in order to reset the RSI, which can ultimately give us more room to the upside later on in both the RSI and the price. But at least for now, in the short term, we're basically just cooling off from all of this previous bullish price action. And as for these other levels of support and resistance, these have not changed over the last 1 day. So if you want to know what all of these other levels are, then check out my last video here on the channel. And if we're taking a look at the 3-hour Bitcoin chart, zooming further into the short term, we can see once again that short-term dump that we saw just in the last few hours or so with that recent news right here. But for now, that little dump in the short term has stopped, at least at the time of recording this video. So essentially, we're just kind of chopping around sideways within a bit of a sideways price range, like I just said earlier, in between around 65,500 to 69,500. And so when we're talking about the longer term trend, at least for now, while we're remaining above this line on the price chart, we're still looking bullish when it comes to the larger time frames. But when it comes to the short term trends on the smaller time frames, the short term, things are actually looking relatively neutral right now because we don't really have a lot of momentum to either direction. We don't really have a lot of bullish momentum or a lot of bearish momentum, which is why the price is basically chopping around sideways within a sideways price range. But believe it or not, you can actually make a lot of easy money in a choppy sideways price range just like this, for example. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, personally, I take most of my trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a 500 USDT position airdrop. So basically a free $500 trade as your first trade over on Bybit, but that's only if you use the link down below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, and then simply claim the airdrop using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there's also Bitfinex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitfinex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitfinex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitfinex down below this video. And if you use that link to make your Bitfinex account, you can get up to a 5.5k deposit bonus. And only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever. But that's only if you use that link below this video to make your Bitfinex account. And so as another option out there, other than Bybit, one that you can access from the US, for example, there's Bitfinex, links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and like I just said, we saw a very quick little short-term dump in the price of Bitcoin, which took out some long positions, but we didn't really have a lot of liquidity just immediately below the current price. So as of right now, the main levels of liquidity to watch out for, first of all, to the downside, we do have some liquidity starting at around 65.1k to 65.2k, but we have a decent area of liquidity starting at around 64.7k, going down towards around 64.2k approximately. And as for liquidity to the upside above the current price, we have a decent area of liquidity in between around 69.6k to around $70,000. So in that price range right there, we have a decent amount of liquidity to the upside, which means if we take out that liquidity right there, if we cross above that level on the price chart, that essentially means that would trigger a potential short squeeze as we are liquidating short positions if we go above that area. But if we go below this lower level of liquidity, that would mean liquidating long positions. So for now, overall, we're actually looking relatively neutral in the short term because we do have a decent level of liquidity to the downside and to the upside, as the price is kind of lacking momentum just in the short term to either direction. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame right now, we're actually looking relatively neutral for Ethereum on the larger time frames, as the price is basically within a massive sideways price range in between the golden pocket and this previous 38.2% Fibonacci level of support, which is now acting as a resistance. And that level of resistance, once again, is sitting at around 2.8k, as I've been warning for a while now on the channel. 2.8k is still acting as very strong resistance. And for this golden pocket area of support, that's still sitting in between around 2150 to 2.2k, with some short-term support at close to 2,500 within this sideways price range. But if we're zooming into the 12-hour time frame, we can see right now the price of ETH is running into this area of support once again, sitting in between around 2440 to 2475. So keep that in mind. That is the current short-term area of support to pay attention to, just after we've seen another rejection from this area on the price chart, which is currently acting as resistance and was previous support, and that's sitting in between around 2550 to 2580. But if we were to see a breakback above around 2580, in that case we still have significant resistance starting at around 2.7k and going up towards around 2.8k. But in a more bearish scenario, if we actually break back below around 2440, below this area of support that we're running into right now as of recording this video, in that case, if we see a break to the downside, downside here, the next major area of support to the downside is sitting in between around 2280 to 2320 based on previous support. And would also have an ascending line of support, as you can see on the price chart right here, and that ascending line of support is currently sitting at around 2430. And obviously, this short-term pullback has been a result of a few different factors that I have already been talking about here on the channel. First of all, a rejection from strong resistance is obviously one bearish signal causing this pullback. And of course, also a reset from overbought territories here in the 12-hour Ethereum RSI, which is also something that I've mentioned here on the channel over the last half a week, give or take. And if we're zooming into the 4-hour time frame, we had this bearish divergence that has been forming and basically playing out over the last half a week to nearly 1 week, and so far this has been playing out pretty much perfectly in the form of a short-term pullback. But as of right now, at the time of recording this video, the price of ETH is possibly forming, not confirmed, but possibly forming a new bullish divergence on this 4-hour time frame, because obviously we're creating lower lows in the price in the candle closes, while the RSI on the 4-hour time frame is technically currently forming higher lows, which is a potential bullish divergence, obviously the opposite to a bearish divergence. So if this actually confirms, then that will tell us that we're due to see a bit of a relief or a break from all of this bearish price action here, which means potentially in the next couple of days, either a slight bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcome. So a relief from all of the bearish price action, but remember that is only if this confirms. For now, it's just simply forming, but not confirmed, because in order to confirm this pattern, we need to actually cement these higher lows in place in the RSI, which means confirming at least a couple of green candle closes in the price action. And so if that can confirm over the next 1 day or so, then it would likely continue to play out at least over the next few days, maybe half a week, give or take, kind of similar to what we saw for this bearish divergence, but obviously the opposite. And with that being said, taking a look at Solana on the daily time frame, and right now Solana is actually breaking back below this area on the price chart, which was sitting in between around 170 to 175. So just in the short term, that is obviously a bit of a bearish signal, especially if we see that daily candle close actually confirm below 170 again. And so in that case, the next area of support to the downside is this significant area of support based on previous significant resistance, now acting as new support, and that's sitting in between around 159 to 163. And for the bulls out there, we really need to hold above that area in between 159 to 163 in order to basically keep this inverse head and shoulders pattern really active, because if we break back below this area, so breaking back below around 159, then in that case we don't really have a lot of support immediately just below that area, which means we could possibly quickly break back below this neckline, which is sitting at around 157 approximately. And if that happens, that would invalidate this inverse head and shoulders pattern and invalidate the breakout and the price target. But obviously we've already made it roughly halfway between the point of the breakout and this bullish price target. So far, if you actually took this trade and then maybe took some profits around resistance, or simply just moved your stop loss up to break even or into profits ideally, so far this has been a profitable trade, obviously from the point of the breakout to where we are right now if you took a long position. But like I said in my last video just yesterday, I warned about how the daily Solana RSI entered into overbought territories for the first time in a few months. Actually, basically the last time we saw an overbought signal actually confirming the daily Solana RSI was around mid-July this year. So it's been a few months since this signal has confirmed. And the last time we saw this signal, we did actually see a major rejection and actually a dump over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So just keep that in mind. And that's exactly what I said in my last video. Keep this in mind. We're now playing out this overbought signal on the daily Solana chart, which means we could see a bit of a reset in the RSI, meaning either a pullback in the price or at least a bit of a choppy sideways price range, which can also help to reset the RSI. And so overall, the larger price structure is still currently bullish if we're simply looking at the higher lows and the higher highs in the price chart. As of right now, this is obviously pointing in the bullish direction, but during this larger bullish price structure, we can see short-term dumps along the way. And right now, we're simply seeing one of those. But if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways in a sideways price range, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.